all processed food is bad for you, except the processed food the person ranting about processed food is selling. Next on What the Fitness. What's up, guys? It's Friday, and so you know what time it is. It's time for your favorite show, What the Fitness. And this week, we were talking about a Twitter, or I guess I can't call it Twitter anymore. They call it X. I still call it Twitter because I'm old. But a thread from someone who has posted about the new David protein bars. Before we get into this, I want to disclose that I am an investor in David protein. So I am biased, but I'm going to back up everything I say with evidence. And I want to use it to have a broader discussion about processed versus unprocessed foods and why this label is a decent guideline, but using it as a hard rule is kind of stupid. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with David Protein, it is a new protein bar that has the most protein per calorie of any protein bar on the market by far. The macros on this bar are 28 grams of protein, 14 grams of carbs, and 1.5 to 2 grams of fat per bar. Okay, that is by far the lowest calorie, highest protein ratio you will find of any bar out there. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about this individual's criticisms of David Protein on X. An individual named Justin Amare wrote the following: David Protein Bar. At first glance, their marketing might convince you that it's healthy. In reality, it's a nuclear bomb for your gut, metabolism, and overall health. Here's a breakdown. Their claim is it's the highest protein per gram of any protein bar. Here's what's actually in it: milk protein isolate, collagen, and whey, allulose, polydextrose, and glycerin, modified plant fat, EPG, natural flavors, and cocoa processed with alkali. By the way, if you look at an ingredient list of most protein bars, that is a very short ingredient list, I'll have you know. All of which, except for the EPG, which I'm going to talk about here in a minute, all of which are very standard ingredients for protein bars. So if you're going to criticize this protein bar, you better criticize all protein bars as a whole. Now, I'm not saying that protein bars should be eaten in place of whole foods. I am not saying that. But as I believe Ron White says, you got to shoot the alligator closest to the boat, which for a lot of people is eating too many calories and not enough protein. And if having a protein bar or two every day allows them to get more protein at lower calories where they might have gone out and gotten fast food or went out to a restaurant or had candy or something like that, that is a net positive benefit. If you can have whole food, absolutely have whole food. But again, I like to live in the real world. And some people just aren't going to do that, don't have the time, whatever. For them, protein bar might be a very suitable substitute. Is it the very best thing they could do? No. But if it's better than what they would do alternatively, then it's absolutely a worthy trade-off. Then, when referring to EPG, he says this is a lab-created substitute that gives you the mouthfeel of fat with 0.7 calories per gram instead of 9. How? By chemically altering plant oils so the body cannot digest them. And he says EPG is designed to pass through your digestive system without being absorbed, allowing companies to reduce calorie claims. It's basically the modern version of olestra. Remember those chips that caused anal leakage? Yes, EPG is in a similar category as olestra. But by him saying this and comparing it to olestra, I don't have any other conclusion other than he didn't look into this at all, or he's being purposefully disingenuous. Because the problem with olestra was solid at room temperature, but liquid at body temperature. And that is why people had problems with anal leakage. EPG is solid at room temperature and solid at body temperature. It is not going to cause leakage. It does not appear to cause gastrointestinal distress. There is some concern at very, very high intakes that it might reduce the absorption of things like vitamin D and beta carotene, but you got to get a pretty darn high intake. And again, you're right. You don't digest it, which is great because you get the mouthfeel of fat, the taste, but you don't get most of the calories. That's a good thing. And then he says, of course, it's also made from seed oils with just one more processing step added. Yeah, it starts as seed oil and then it's modified to be EPG. And by the end, it's actually a saturated fat modified with EPG. And again, you do not absorb it. So if you're worried about the evils of seed oils, which by the way, I've covered on this channel ad nauseum, you're not getting it into circulation anyway, really. Then he says maltitol has a glycemic index of 35 compared to 65 for table sugar. meaning it still impacts your blood sugar significantly. I would recommend that Justin go look up the glycemic index. 35 is low on the glycemic index. It is a very minimal impact on blood sugar. And maltitol, yes, a sugar alcohol, but what does that actually mean? Well, normal carbohydrates or sugars are in ring structures. All a sugar alcohol is the same structure with just the ring broken open and a hydroxide group on the end, which you call an alcohol. For my chemistry students out there, you will know that. Justin probably doesn't, but I digress. Then he says, and the digestive effects, let's just say there's a reason Amazon reviews for sugar-free gummy bears are comedy gold. Yeah, sugar-free gummy bears are, I think, all sugar alcohol. So if you eat a normal serving of sugar-free gummy bears, you're getting like 20, 30 grams of sugar alcohols. Yeah, you're going to have gastrointestinal problems. There is not nearly that much maltitol in these bars, okay? In fact, the NIH says 40 grams of maltitol per day is a typical tolerance threshold for gastrointestinal comfort. And David protein is far below that. Then in the less bad but not ideal territory, we have natural flavors, the industry's favorite trick. Under FDA rules, the single term can hide over 100 different chemicals. If you take like an organic banana or an orange, did you know that there are hundreds of chemicals in those? Because every single thing is a chemical. Everything, literally everything is a chemical. Just scaring people with the word chemical means absolutely nothing. So this is a garbage can term he's just putting in there. Then there's the cocoa. Oh, not the cocoa! Their cocoa is processed with alkali, meaning it's been treated with potassium carbonate to neutralize its acidity. This significantly reduces the flavanol content, the compounds responsible for chocolate's health benefits. Yeah, in the whole like alligator closest to the boat, if you have residual acidity in a bar, it's going to taste like crap. So yes, it reduces the acidity, and yes, it reduces the flavanol content. But again, it's not being promoted as an antioxidant or flavanol containing bar. It's being promoted as what it is, a low-calorie, high-protein bar. What frustrates me is these bars are marketed as healthy to people trying to improve their diet. Will this kill you? Unlikely. But it's sure not the health product the company would like you to believe. You know what's funny? People like this who are really critical of products like this, have you guys ever heard the phrase, the lady doth protest too much? Justin doth protest too much. And it's funny he brings up processing because he has a wine company that processes wine and changes the wine through processing. And somehow this product is being marketed as healthy by him, but a protein bar is bad for you? Make it make sense. If somebody wants to say, hey, we've modified this wine so it has like less sulfides, sulfates, you know, those sorts of things. Okay, cool. So maybe it's better than regular wine, but still not healthy. Oh, wait, David, protein, that's what they say. This is, once again, an example of asymmetrical application of logic. I invoke a certain line of logic when it fits my bias, and when it doesn't fit my bias, I act like it does not exist. And by I mean him. Our ancestors evolved to eat whole foods and never encountered modified plant fats, artificial sweeteners, or isolated protein compounds. Yet today we're flooding our systems with these lab-created substances. I'm afraid David Barr is just more of the same. Where did our ancestors come across processed red wine? Did they go off to the red wine tree and pick it? Again, Justin, if you're going to make this argument, you got to make the same argument against the stuff that you sell. I actually really like what the David Protein account said back to them, which was, if eating like our ancestors is the gold standard, remind me, when exactly were they drinking blended, filtered, sulfited, non-alcoholic wine processed through proprietary industrial methods like your brand's Shirley, Arlo wines, or shelf-stable bone broth that has gone through a retorting process like your brand Kettle and Fire? So again, he's invoking a certain line of logic. Ooh, processing is bad, not natural. When it's something he doesn't like, but when it's his stuff, it's... And this brings up a broader conversation about processed versus unprocessed foods. In general, do I think the guideline of eating minimally processed foods and trying to avoid processed foods is a good guideline? Yes, I do. Because if you eat minimally processed foods, you're probably going to eat less calories by default, more fiber, and more micronutrients. So bravo to that. But there's a lot of processed products that actually appear to have benefits. The research shows that replacing saturated fat with seed oils reduces inflammation, reduces liver fat, improves metabolic health, reduces cardiovascular disease risk, reduces risk of mortality, and might even reduce cancer risk slightly. So I guess processing wins there. And then we have things like whey protein. Whey protein is processed, and whey protein improves lean mass, can reduce fat mass, improves metabolic health, lowers inflammation. So again, just because something is processed doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. It's okay to make limiting processed foods a guideline, but when you make it a hard and fast rule, that rule is going to fall apart, Justin, when you also sell something that is processed, but you don't disclose that during your takedown of this processed product. And yes, again, I'm an investor in David Protein because I believe in the product. It tastes really good. I think it's the best tasting protein bar on the market, and it fits a need for a lot of people, which is low calorie, high protein. I'm simply saying, if you have a hard time getting enough protein without over-consuming calories, and you have a hard time getting enough real food in, then David Protein is something that could be useful for you. But again, it's not magic, and I'm never going to say it's better than regular, whole, unprocessed food. If you guys are interested in David Protein bars, you can click the link in their description and pick yourself up a box, and I believe they even sell sample packs. They're selling really fast, and I think I have probably put a dent. I'm glad I'm an investor, quite frankly, because I probably eat like a box a week. So if they were going to have negative effects, I think I would have showed up by now. So if you guys are interested, you can go check them out, and I'll catch you guys next week.